The whole village heard the father's cruel words echo through the street. "She's deaf, take her!" A young woman stood frozen, trembling, abandoned by the man who was supposed to protect her. People turned away. No one wanted the burden he was throwing aside. But one stranger stepped forward. He said nothing at first, only reached out his hand. What happened after that would shame an entire town, heal a broken heart, and prove that sometimes the people called useless are the ones sent to save everyone else. Stay until the end, because the final moment will break you and rebuild you. In a dusty little town surrounded by hills, there lived a girl named Mira. She was born unable to hear. From the day she came into the world, whispers followed her like shadows. "She'll never marry. She can't work. She is a curse." Mira could not hear their words, but she knew them by their faces. She learned pain through eyes, through gestures, through doors closing softly in front of her. Her mother had loved her deeply, teaching her kindness with warm hands and patient smiles. But when Mira turned 16, her mother passed away from illness. After that, the house grew colder. Her father, Harun, became bitter. Every crop failure, every unpaid debt, every hardship, he blamed on Mira. He hated the silence she lived in, because it reminded him of everything life had taken from him. Yet Mira was gentle. She rose before sunrise each day, fetched water, baked bread, cleaned floors, stitched torn clothes, and cared for neighbors' children when asked. She smiled often, even when no one smiled back. One summer afternoon, Harun dragged Mira by the wrist into the crowded market square. Merchants paused. Children stared. He pointed at her like she was livestock. "She's deaf, take her!" he shouted. "Someone marry her, hire her, keep her. I don't care. I'm done feeding a useless girl." The square fell silent. Myra's hands trembled. She looked from face to face, begging with her eyes for someone, anyone, to defend her. But people lowered their gaze. Some pitied her. Some feared Harun. Most simply did nothing. Then from the far side of the market, a man stepped forward. His clothes were plain. His boots dusty. His face carried old sadness, but his eyes were kind. His name was Elias. He walked slowly toward Mira, then toward Harun. The father scoffed. "You want her?" Harun spat. "Take her." Elias looked at Mira first, not her father. Then he gently offered his hand. Mira hesitated. No one had ever offered her anything without cruelty attached. But there was something steady in his eyes. She placed her hand in his. The crowd gasped. Harun laughed. "Fool! She can't hear, can't speak properly, and brings nothing." Elias finally spoke. "Then she has been carrying people who never deserved her." He led Mira away. That night, the whole town talked about the man who took the deaf girl. But none of them knew the truth. Elias himself carried wounds deeper than hers. Years ago, his wife and child had died in a flood. Since then, he had lived alone outside town, fixing broken furniture, tending a small garden, and speaking to almost no one. People thought he was strange. But grief recognizes grief. And when he saw Mira standing abandoned in that square, he saw not weakness. He saw himself. At his cottage, Elias prepared tea and bread. Mira stood awkwardly by the door. Then he did something no one had ever done. He took a piece of chalk and wrote on a slate. "You are safe here." Mira read the words. Her lips trembled. Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. For the first time since her mother died, someone had spoken to her in a language she could hear. Days turned into weeks. Elias learned hand signs from Mira. Mira learned reading and writing from Elias. They laughed often, making mistakes, inventing signs, understanding each other without sound. She planted flowers outside the cottage. He built shelves for the books she began collecting. The town watched from a distance, confused. How could a burden become joyful? How could a broken girl make a lonely man live again? Then autumn came with heavy rain. One stormy night, the river above town burst its banks. Water rushed through the streets, swallowing carts, flooding homes, dragging livestock into darkness. People screamed. Church bells rang. Children cried. Chaos spread fast. Mira was awake when she saw the rising water from the cottage window. She shook Elias, pointed urgently, then ran toward town before he could stop her. Because while others relied on hearing danger, Mira noticed what hearing people ignored. She saw vibrations in the ground, movement in the trees, shifts in light. She sensed panic before voices even formed. She ran house to house, pounding on doors, pulling sleeping families awake, waving them toward higher ground. Some ignored her at first. Then they saw the water behind her. Soon they followed. Elias joined her, helping carry children and elders uphill. At the last flooded lane, Mira spotted a roof barely above water. A man clung there, terrified. Her father. Harun. He was trapped, screaming into the storm. Elias grabbed Mira's arm, warning it was too dangerous. But Mira pulled free. Without hesitation, she tied a rope around herself and plunged into the freezing current. The town watched in horror. She fought the water, reached the roof, and secured the rope around her father. Together, villagers pulled them both back. Harun collapsed on the mud, coughing, shaking, unable to meet her eyes. The daughter he called useless had just saved his life. He fell at her feet, sobbing. "I was cruel," he cried. "I was blind. Forgive me." Mira looked at the broken man who had once broken her. Then slowly, she placed a hand over her heart, and another over his. Forgiveness. The gesture shattered everyone watching. Many wept openly. In the days that followed, the town rebuilt together. But something greater had changed. They built ramps for the elderly. They learned hand signs. They invited Mira to teach children kindness and communication. Elias reopened his workshop, now full of apprentices. And Harun? He spent the rest of his years trying to become the father he should have been. One evening, months later, the whole town gathered in the square where Mira had once been rejected. This time, there were flowers, lanterns, music she could not hear, but joy she could feel. Elias stood before her, nervous as a boy, and held out a small ring. Then with careful hands he signed, "Will you walk beside me for the rest of our lives?" Mira cried and nodded yes. The crowd cheered. And though she heard none of it, she felt every heartbeat. Never mistake silence for emptiness. Some people speak with actions louder than words ever could. The girl they threw away became the soul that saved them all. Broken heart. If today's story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, even a small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Red Heart.